Hi everyone, hope you're well, staying safe. Just a video update for you on the most recent announcements by the government. The announcements were made just over a week ago now, so apologies for the delay in getting this out to you. Took a couple of days to digest the announcement because they were only made late Friday afternoon, and I've been busy with clients, so this is the first chance I've had to record a video. A couple of really positive announcements overall. What they've done is they've extended support for those of you who are sole traders and partnerships, albeit at a slightly lower amount, and they've extended the support for those of you with employees, the furlough scheme as you know it. And again, the amount that they're going to let, the level of support is being reduced over time, but there is more flexibility now, which is a good thing. I'll come on to that. So first part, those of you who are sole traders and partnerships, hopefully, you know, as per previous videos, you got yourselves government gateway IDs, HMRC got in touch around the middle of May. There was a claim to be made online, and you received a payment probably around the end of May, maybe start of June, for 80% of the average of the last 3 years' profits for the months of March, April and May. That was capped at £2,500 per month. It's exactly the same process again. They're going to allow applications in August, so you have to wait till August. But now it's only 70% of profits capped at 218,750, which is just the 2,500 prorated on that kind of 70% basis. So there's nothing more for you to do right now. Wait until August. You should be notified by HMRC as to when the applications will be open. It'll be based on the same figures as the previous claim was made, and you're going to get the same amount, but 70% rather than 80%. Okay, so you get kind of a slightly lesser amount, but I wasn't expecting them to extend that scheme, to be honest. It was a surprise for a lot of people. It's essentially unexpected monies, although a lot of people are going to need it. So, you know, it's good news overall. I would have happily taken 70% if that were to be traded off by having it at all. With regards to the job retention scheme, good news in they're extending that through till the end of October now, albeit there's some kind of reduction in the amount of support that you can make. But in return for that, there's some more flexibility around who can qualify for the job retention scheme and how they come back to work, which I'll go into. So the first thing and the most important thing for anybody out there who is thinking about furloughing employees at the moment, okay, the new furlough system, or the extension of the furlough system from the 1st of July is only available to people who have been furloughed prior to the end of June. Okay, and to have been furloughed, you've got to have been furloughed for a minimum 3-week period. That means is if you're thinking of furloughing somebody and you haven't furloughed them previously, you need to agree with them today, immediately, and get it done. You don't have to tell HMRC today, tomorrow. We don't need to notify them until the end of the month when we do the end of June payroll. But they need to be noted as a furloughed employee at the end of June. Okay. If people haven't been furloughed by the end of June, then they can't be furloughed thereafter. Okay. Now, if you have furloughed people already, maybe you furloughed them in April and they came back in May, or they were furloughed May and they came back in June, any of that kind of situation, don't worry, there's nothing additional to be done. If they've been if people have been previously furloughed, HMRC know they're on the system, they can be furloughed again. Okay, it's the only kind of immediate and urgent action is for those of you who are thinking of furloughing employees as we move into July and beyond. Okay, if you can't do that, you can't take action on that right now, then and people are made redundant in August or September, then that's unfortunate, but that's the way the system's going to work. Okay, now that's the kind of bad news, as it were. The good news is obviously the extension and the fact that the support's going to be there till the end of October. The other good news is there's more flexibility. I've spoke to quite a few of you now, and one of the criticisms that I had and a lot of others is that people were either furloughed or they weren't. There was no in between. What they've made changes that from July onwards, people can come back to work on a part-time basis and be furloughed as well, which is great. So if you imagine somebody's on maybe, let's call it 24k a year, so £1,000, £2,000 per month, and they come back part-time on 50% hours. Okay, so £1,000 per month is they're working, and you would pay those wages and the employers and I as you normally would. The other £1,000 of their wages, when they're essentially off because they're furloughed, you get 80% of that amount. Okay, so you pay the £1,000 and the employers and I, and they'd get £800 for a total of £1,800 plus, all the various associated costs that come with that. So it's a pretty good way of working it, really, I would say. The other great additional bit of flexibility is that the moment when somebody's furloughed, they have to be furloughed for a minimum of 3 weeks. Now that's been dropped to a minimum furlough of 1 week. So people can come back, on a part-time basis, or they can be part-time, then furloughed for furloughed for a week, then back in work for a week, and furloughed for a week. So there's a lot more flexibility in gradually bringing people back who might have been previously furloughed, which I think is a really smart move on their part as well. And I think that'll help a lot of people out. Just to kind of note that they've said that any furlough claims to be made, they're kind of putting a deadline on previous months. So, for example, any claims up to the 30th of June, that people are going to be made, they have to be made by the 31st of July. So because they're not allowing people to kind of start changing their mind in July and August for people who they want to get on the furlough at a later date by saying, oh yeah, they were furloughed back in June. So you need to be right on top of things, basically. If somebody comes to us in August or September or October and says, oh yeah, sorry, I forgot about the person who was furloughed in June, there's just no way we could get that done for you. So key thing is just to be on top of things. Again, as always, Elaine's really busy, so email the furlough@Burton-Bevan email address if you've got anything that you need to let us know with regards to the system. So just to kind of update you on the way the scheme is changing, for June that we're currently in and for July, the furlough is working exactly the same. It's 80% of the wages, capped at £2,500 per month, and HMRC will pay the employer's national insurance and the employer's pension contributions, which is great. For the month of August, you still get the 80% of wages, which is great, but you as the employer need to pay the employer's national insurance and the employer's pension contributions, which isn't a huge cost. I think it works out on average, the way the numbers work out, it's going to be about 5% of that employee wage cost had they been continued to be employed. For the month of September, and September onwards, by the way, they won't pay any more employers' NI and pension contributions. But for the month of September, they'll pay 70% furlough wages for anybody who's on for any period of time that an employee is furloughed, which means that the wages will cost you about 14% of the normal cost. And for the month of October, they'll pay 60% furlough for the employees. So pretty good overall. The headlines are that furlough's been extended to October, which is great. It's only available July onwards for employees who've been furloughed prior to the end of June. So you can't add people July onwards. It's going to work exactly as it does for June and July. There's going to be a slight cost for anybody, for the employer to bear in August. And then, it's going down to 70% in September and 60% in October. Then I can't imagine any way that it'll be extended any further than that. So hopefully that's clear. As always, get in touch if you've got any questions or if you need anything. And as you're all aware, Elaine's still incredibly busy managing this for everybody. She's doing the payroll for all our clients, as always, whilst managing all these claims and the furlough, these furlough calculations that go behind all these. It's an incredible amount of work that she's having to manage. The thing is, again, I'll ask for more patience if you don't mind, because if you imagine now from July onwards, we've got all the typical furlough work we're doing, plus people who are going part-time, plus once we get into August, the calculations on the 80%, 70%, 60%, and people are going to be part-time and with reduced furlough amounts, and it's going to be really complicated for us. We're just trying to currently assess. Hopefully, as you've noticed, we've done all this additional work at our own kind of cost and absorbed it to try and help support all of you, but we're not sure how we're going to manage it all moving forward, but we'll address that. Don't worry, it will get dealt with. As always, stay safe, and I will update you as and when we've got some more news. Thanks, bye.